Yesterday, I saw the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and in this video, we're going to talk about it. And it's going to be a spoiler free video. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you don't have to worry about any spoilers. I do have to go into context on my thought process going into this movie. I went in pretty excited. I'm not going to lie. I've been a fan of the Deadpool movies. I've been a fan of the Deadpool character for a very long time. I didn't like Deadpool 2 as much as Deadpool 1, but I still thought it was a great movie. So I was excited for this now that we also have Wolverine in. I've seen all the X-Men movies, I've seen Logan. I am not a big X-Men movie fan, but I have seen all of them, so that did give me an edge for this movie, which I'll get into in a second. And so I was excited for this movie. I don't think the MCU has been doing well after No Way Home. Shang-Chi, Guardians 3, there are a little bit of exceptions in there, a little bit of some spark of that, peak MCU back in the heyday. I would say like phases 1 through 3 were pretty good. But as, corporate changed and ideas changed and Disney Plus came out, the quality went super down. The quantity went up, but the quality went down, and they just couldn't keep up. So that's how I see the MCU. I haven't seen many of the MCU movies since Phase 5. So after Shang-Chi, like I said, I saw Guardians. Multiverse of Madness, I was like, okay, this isn't great. And then I saw Love and Thunder, which was like the nail in the coffin for me, aside from Guardians, because I really like the Guardians movies. So I didn't see the Marvels. I didn't see Ant-Man. There was a few others that I didn't see either. I was at that point where I was like, okay, I'm not seeing an MCU movie until a review is out and the audience reception is like positive, and then I'll go see it, right? Even if you're a huge MCU fan, you have to admit, like, Phase 5 is the weakest out of all the phases. Regardless if you still like those movies or not, it's like, compared to the standard that the MCU has set for itself, Marvel Studios has set for itself, it's been a low bar, and the TV shows just kept missing and missing and missing. Aside from Loki and WandaVision, I really think the other ones are just, they're nothing burgers of content for the MCU. So that's my take on it. So when I was going in to see Deadpool and Wolverine, I realized this was the first MCU movie where Deadpool's in it, and it's also the first MCU movie of this year because of the writer strikes, because of the reformation of a lot of the corporate structure at Disney and Marvel Studios, Feige getting more power back, all this behind the scenes stuff, the reshoots for the Captain America movie. They shifted stuff around. So this was the only movie coming out, and is the only movie coming out in 2024 for Marvel Studios. So that was already something that was very interesting, because normally they pump out, like 3 or 4 movies a year. So it's a big deal. It became more of an event, which is what the older Marvel movies used to be. And I was getting excited for it. The trailers were really good. It's Deadpool, obviously, and then you now have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine coming back after he said he was done with the movie Logan, figuring out what they were going to do with that. This is the first time in the MCU. There were rumors that they were bringing in the TVA, and then the trailers proved that they were bringing in the TVA, which was just a neat concept, I thought, and it was looking very promising. So my excitement went up. But there was something in the back of my head that's like, don't overhype yourself, because you're just going to end up disappointed. I was also telling myself, even if this movie is fantastic, it's really good, it's up to that quality of like Phase 1, Phase 2 Marvel, it doesn't save the MCU. We're going to need a series of MCU movies that do well, not just box office numbers, but do well in quality in order to say the MCU is back. So anyone that says that this movie saved the MCU, they're lying. Like, they're blowing smoke up your ass, because it's only been one movie since the last movie that was really bad. So you need to see a track record happen, a pattern before that. So I just wanted to get all that out of the way. There is a bias to some degrees and to another. I didn't go in just gonna hate this movie, but I also went in this movie trying to temper my expectations, because I just didn't want to overhype it. So what did I think? Deadpool and Wolverine is a good movie. I really did enjoy myself seeing it. I don't think it's super amazing. I think it's very funny. I think they do the action scenes really well. I think the interactions between Deadpool and Wolverine are great. I think visually it's hit or miss. There's some shots that look really good, some that don't look as great. And what really kind of bogged it down for me was the narrative, the story. It's in the same vein as how when you actually break down Spider-Man No Way Home, a movie that I really like, but when you think about it, like narratively, it doesn't really make much sense. It's the same thing because we've been trying to do this multiverse saga, and multiverse just doesn't work narratively, and they keep trying to like force that. But yeah, narratively, it's not that great. It doesn't really hold as much water, so that's what kind of deducts points for me. And then I also, going into this movie, knew that there were going to be cameos. The cameos in this movie are insane. I'm not going to like talk about them here because this is spoiler free. But if you're just a casual moviegoer, or if you have no inclination of like Fox movies or the, lore in that sense, or any of the backstory about the making of those movies, some of these jokes are just going to go over your head. Some of these cameos you're just not going to get, and it's going to dock it down a few points for people, I think. So if you're an MCU fan, if you are a Fox X-Men fan, if you've been on this journey for the whole ride, yes, you're going to have a good time. If you are not, then this, well, I don't really even know why you would go see this movie, because it's in the title, Deadpool Wolverine. You kind of have to know those characters in order to really be invested in it. But yeah, I just think that the cameos were insane, action scenes were good, visuals hit or miss. Narratively, it kind of loses water. It doesn't connect to the MCU as much as I thought it would, and I'm still debating in my head after seeing the movie if that's a good thing or not, because there were so many rumors, and you can't listen to rumors. You gotta take things as a grain of salt. That like this would change the MCU, like something in this movie would change or correct everything that the MCU's been doing wrong. I'm just gonna let you know now that doesn't happen. People have been saying that since Multiverse of Madness. It just doesn't happen, and I don't know why I keep like believing these rumors, but it doesn't happen in this. It's for the most part, yeah, there's MCU elements and there's multiversal elements, but it's still like a standalone-ish movie. So I'm a little mixed on that. But all in all, Deadpool and Wolverine, if I had to give it a rating, I'm gonna rate it a solid 7 out of 10. So how my scaling is going to go is if it's 0, it doesn't hold up any foundations of a movie. Like even the core basics of how to make a movie, it's not there. 5 is average. So 5 is like the movie is average. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just, decent. So 5 out of 10, although that's failing in school, if you get a 5 out of 10, it's a 50%. On my scale, 5 out of 10 is not bad, but it's also not anything special. And then 6, 7, 8. All those up there go up to 10, which is a near perfect movie. I don't believe in a perfect movie, so 10 is a near perfect. Obviously, this is all subjective too, on my opinion. But yeah, I think it's a solid 7. I think I give it more points. It's probably more like a 6 if you are like a casual Marvel fan, and more like a 5 if you have no idea who these characters are and you just wanted to go see a different type of movie. So a normie, I would say, is around a 5 or 6. A Marvel fan, I would say, is like a 7. Yeah, I definitely suggest you go out and see it if you're interested in the movie. It's nothing crazy. Anything you've been hearing about how insane this scene or that scene is probably because of the cameos. And as much as I love the cameos and appreciated the cameos, that doesn't make a movie. And I think Marvel's starting to lean on cameos a lot more, just to kind of, crutch their narratives and their stories. But besides the point, yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not dead yet. This movie just kind of keeps the needle where it's at for me. I'm not pushing towards, like, I saw this for like the premiere or whatever, and I don't think I'm gonna see any more Marvel movie premieres. I know my brother is completely like tapped out. This was the movie that would be like whether or not he's even going to be watching Marvel movies again. It wasn't enough to keep him in, so he's not going to care anymore. He's already had his one foot out the door already. For me, I'll still see Marvel movies if they are, being talked about and it's good word of mouth. But I don't think I'm going to see premieres for a very long time. And I'll keep this video to hold me accountable in case that changes, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Like, when you look at it in a vacuum, it's not a bad movie whatsoever. But when it comes to an MCU as a whole, they still have a lot of uphill climbing to do to get back to that standard that they once were. And I don't necessarily think that we need to just go in and just immediately shit on the MCU. But Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more effort. I would like to see a little bit more creativity and breaking the formula up a bit. The reason the first phase of the MCU worked was because there was no formula for them to just work off of. There was no like money factory formula that they had, but then by the end of phase 1 they had that, and you started seeing like the cookie cutter MCU stuff, which still worked because they still had great stories in there. But then as time went on, they started writing out of stories, and it landed more on the jokey cameo side. But that fits for Deadpool, at least the jokey side, because these jokes are actually funny, unlike the tame PG-13 MCU jokes. But now I'm just going on a tangent. Deadpool and Wolverine is a 7 out of 10. It is a decently good movie. I had a good time. If I had to rank it out of all 3 Deadpool movies, it is my second favorite. My first being Deadpool 1, and my least favorite being Deadpool 2. So that's going to be it. I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. Please try to keep the spoilers out of this until everyone has seen the movie. Maybe I'll do a spoiler video later on if you guys want to see that. But